Sony is doing what Nintendo won't, and that is censoring games so that they can be on their platform. And we saw this a couple of weeks ago with one example being Vara. Sony censored that game so badly it actually brought it down a rating, and Nintendo actually left in the optional feature of the jiggle mechanics in the game, whereas Sony didn't. But we're seeing more examples with the newest game being Brave Neptunia. I hope that I'm saying that right. The Japanese version on the PlayStation 4 is being censored with the usual, like, rays of light and cloud effects over the particular areas that they don't like or they think that is too revealing, but the version on the Nintendo Switch is actually not censored. And I do want to say that this could change for the Western release of this game on the Nintendo Switch. There's no information on the release yet besides the Japanese examples because it's so far out before it's actually released for the Western audiences. But to me it brings up a more serious question, and that is, who are these companies trying to target as an audience? Who are they trying to sell these games to? They allow violence in games without censoring them, and I understand there are a lot of differences between Eastern audiences and Western audiences. Nudity is seen as a lesser issue, and Western audiences, violence is seen as a lesser issue, but they still allow games with nudity and suggestive scenes worse than these. I mean, that's for sure. If they're not third-party titles, like The Witcher, like Grand Theft Auto 5, or Grand Theft Auto in general. I mean, the list can go on, and I don't particularly want to get into that list. So Sony has been very censor-heavy when it comes to third-party games recently, but Nintendo hasn't. Nintendo hasn't actually been touching third-party releases for the most part at all, and I question why. Sony has many games that are against this mission that they've gone on recently to censor anything that has to do with high school settings and questionable ages of the characters, human-animal cross characters, but they allow games like Persona 5 to be allowed on their platform. And of course, Persona 5 came out before this charade has gotten so elevated, but if they're going to be so censor-heavy, this game should be one of those major titles to be patched with censored scenes or characters. I obviously don't want this, but I know a few people have mentioned this game in particular due to how it goes against what they've been censoring. I mean, that's just how Persona 5 is. I mean, recently we did see Super Smash Bros. Receive some extent of censorship, but because the ratings on the games with which the characters originally were in were higher than Super Smash Bros., so they had to censor them so that they could actually fit into the games. But Nintendo has been very lacking on the third-party censorship, especially with games like Para, or even, so far, Brave Neptunia for the time being. Like I said, this could always change with the Western release. We are not 100% sure since we don't have that information, but I mean, eventually we will find out, and if it's censored, then obviously I'll probably make a video on it, and if it's not, then we obviously know how lax they're being with their censorship policies. I understand if companies like Sony are very hesitant to let uncensored games like this on their platform due to various laws and restrictions, but what most companies do in these situations, which usually gets around the problem, is filter options. Make the game primarily censored, but then put in the filter options into the game to access the unfiltered versions, because it passes the ratings, but it also provides the game that people wanted to purchase in the first place, and then you just get around the whole problem, but everyone's happy because you can play it one way, or you can play it another. Not everyone likes censoring, and if you're playing these type of games, you probably want the full experience. I mean, the dialogue in these games aren't censored, and dialogue is half of the game itself, so I just think they should allow options for the way that people want to play a game. These games aren't targeted towards young audiences, and I really wonder how many young people actually play these games that are under the age restrictions, because yes, some of these themes are school and dating and let's get a boyfriend and let's have our first relationship and all of that or whatnot in these games. They might be appealing to a younger audience, but that's not who these games try to target, obviously, with their suggestive themes. But what are your thoughts on Nintendo not censoring these titles and Sony censoring these titles? I know that I have seen definitely how much better Nintendo handles censoring, and I've definitely seen now at this point what Sony is willing to censor and what they aren't willing to censor. I mean, definitely we can continue on this issue when we see more games being censored. Of course, I don't want that. I don't like when games are censored like this, but What are your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure to give it a like, and of course, if you don't like this video, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either which way. Make sure to check out the links in the description. I have tons of different ways that you can support the channel here and support me talking about censorship and what I do on YouTube. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys again really soon. Hey there, thank you so much for sticking around until the end of the video. You should click that subscribe button, and there are plenty of ways to show support to the channel, such as following me on Twitter, joining the Dark Titans Discord server, or even chipping in on Patreon and becoming a Dark Titan yourself. I'll see you all in the next video.